Welcome back in the SpaceInfo Club. Today with the update and the news of the week, the excitation is mounting because a lot of events occurred this week. So let's start.
Welcome back on the SpaceInfo podcast. Here we talk about space and everything related to it. If you are passionate about space, astronomy, technology and everything about it, you can join all our social platforms at the SpaceInfo Club or our website at www.spaceinfo.club, where tons of content and a community of experts are there waiting for you. This is the SpaceInfo Club.
Today we talk about a couple of launches that a lot of people were waiting for. Particularly, I'm talking about Starship, I'm talking about the NASA and Boeing Starliner spacecraft, and then a couple of more news with a couple of launches and events that occurred this week. I'm talking about European Space Agency with collaboration of the Japanese Space Exploration Agency JAXA, and I'm talking about the EarthCARE mission. And finally, we'll spend a few words about China. Yes, China again, which said to have landed on the far side of the moon. But let's now start talking about the most important event of today. I'm recording on June the 6th, and a few hours ago, 2 or 3 hours ago, Starship accomplished the fourth test flight, and it was amazing. A lot of people standing there to look at the event. A lot of people watched the live event on YouTube and all the streaming platform. I hope you are among them, but if you haven't, give a look to the highlights of the launch because they were spectacular. Indeed, we can start by mentioning a successful soft landing of the Starship Super Heavy rocket booster, which is the tweet, let's say the X post of Elon Musk on the social, and then after a few minutes, particularly something like 45 minutes of flight, Starship landed back in the ocean. By Starship I mean the upper stage of the whole rocket, and we had a couple of success. Indeed, the goals of the flight test of today were two mainly, and the positive landing of the heavy booster, which is the first stage of the SpaceX Starship overall rocket, and of the ship, the Starship itself, which is the upper stage of the tandem configuration, which is the capsule, which is the ship basically, and which also landed successfully, especially down in the ocean. We have assisted to a few glitches, let's say, particularly in a fin and in a not 100% robust control of the ship, but both the booster and the spacecraft successfully landed and performed almost perfectly what the goal were. Indeed, we can just give a fast look to the live streaming that was transmitted today. I invite you to give a look on YouTube and all the other streaming platform to at least the highlights, because they were spectacular. A lot of people assisted to the launch, and in particularly now we are just giving you a side view and a fast view of the overall launch. If you want to see a video, let us know in the comments or write on our social channels. Let us know what you think, what you'd like to see, so we can realize a video dedicated only to Starship. So this is the launch sequence, which was nominal 3, 2, 1 and lift off. Now we are assisting to the replay of the lift off. As you can see, almost all the engines, one engine of the booster just shut it down at the very beginning of the launch, and then all the other 32 engines performing nominally, and also the engines of the ship itself. Now let's skip a little forward to see what happened. Now we are just high in the atmosphere. With this view we are approaching the detaching the detaching also the MECO, and the separation also already occurred. We are seeing the spectacular images of the separation between the booster and the ship. And then we just skip a little forward. Again, let us know if you want a dedicated video to this flight test number 4 of the SpaceX Starship. And then we will see the landing in the splashdown of the booster in a few minutes, and we can just skip to the event. And it was something like in the Gulf of Mexico, or in that background we can see the fins maneuvering, the control of the rocket basically perfectly operating, and the finishing re-ignition of the engines and a perfect splashdown vertical configuration in the ocean. So the booster performed perfectly, and so the landing was nominal, as expected, as hoped, I would say. And now we can skip forward to the splashdown of the ship. But before going on, we'll spend a few words about the other event of the week, which was much awaited. Okay, now spoiler: the Starship will land perfectly with splashdown in the Indian Ocean, and we'll see the images in a few seconds. But let's get back talking about just a side note about Starship, which, as we can read on the Space News website, well, it seems that some people are already giving some problem, trying to give some problems, because Elon Musk say that we will probably assist to further 4 launches this year of the Starship. 2 have been already performed, and 4 are to become. We know that SpaceX has a huge capability of industrial producing and engineering the production of this spacecraft, which is optimized also under this point of view. So the bottleneck won't be for sure under the SpaceX responsibility, but probably the problems, if there will be, we hope not for sure, will be under the regulatory side, particularly under the Federal Aviation Agency. That's the FAA, which is the agency which gives the license, which is the permission to launch the rocket into the sky. And this is the main problem on the horizon for SpaceX, because probably some licenses cannot be granted in the next future. So the goal is to perform again 4 launches before the end of the 2024. But maybe this won't be possible, and the main cause is foreseen as the not concession of the FAA launch license. And we can see, as I was saying, on the spacenews.com website, this is a few paragraph titled "The New Lawsuit Threat." And we can read that an environmental review conducted by the Federal Aviation Agency before the second Starship and Super Heavy launch in November concluded that the addition of the water deluge system resulted in no significant environmental changes. So this is basically the conclusion of the quest, particularly in the waters closer to the launch site, Starbase, because some people were suspecting that all this activity, this launch activity nearby the waters, could affect the environment and give bad consequences to the waters and the environment closer to the launch site. But for sure, this seems that have not happened in all these launches, so this is probably not a problem for SpaceX in the next future. Now, back to the second topic of today, and which is, as we can see, to the live stream today on the NASA website, on the NASA YouTube channel here. We can see that we are still assisting to the live event of the live coverage of the Boeing Starliner dock to the International Space Station. If this event will happen before the end of this video, but I don't think so, we will assist directly to the docking phase between the Boeing Starliner to the International Space Station. But yes, I spoiled the topic, because if you have missed the news, yes, Boeing Starliner was finally launched on June the 5th, 2024, after some delays, after some scrubbing. And yeah, this is not, I would say, a lucky spacecraft, as we all know. And if you don't know, we'll just tell us, and we'll just release a video dedicated to Boeing Starliner spacecraft, to its history, and to what happened to the spacecraft up to now and up to the day of launch, because a lot of times Boeing encountered some problems, and the whole project was born in in the case of, in the context of NASA commercial crew development program, commercial spacecraft crew development program, which is a spacecraft where NASA gives funds up to now something like 4.5 billions to private companies like SpaceX and Boeing to fund the development of commercial spacecraft in order to supply the International Space Station and to be able to transport people, crew, to the International Space Station, substituting which was the Space Shuttle, and now today, before SpaceX, was only the Russian Soyuz. Well, we know that. Let's go to the direct news of the day. The Boeing Starliner was launched today. On board we have two astronauts, Sunita Williams, who is the pilot. And we know that there have been some problems also, and there are currently some problems. Particularly, we have an helium leakage from the tanks. Helium is not a propellant nor a fuel for the spacecraft. It is an inert gas, so it cannot be used as a propellant or a fuel. But it is used basically as a pressure supplier. Indeed, the tanks are pressurized, are gas pressurized, which means that the propellant, the fuels, so the fluids, the combustion fluids in the tanks are kept under pressure thanks to an inert gas. Indeed, you cannot imagine to use the gas vapor from the fuel to pressurize the fuel itself, because it is not possible. So you have to imagine that you have to inject some gas which does not participate in the combustion in order to keep pressurized, to give pressure to the liquids inside the tanks, in order to supply pressure to allow these fluids, which are the propellant and the fuel, to reach to the combustion chamber and to allow the combustion. Indeed, we know that this helium leakage was already discovered in the past days, when the launch was scrapped, and firstly this year, in May the 6th, 2024, the launch was scrapped due to a problem in the valve in the upper stage of the ULA rocket, which is the Atlas V. So the launch was scrapped not due to the Boeing Starliner capsule itself, but then it was scrapped again due to a launch counter computer which failed a couple of weeks ago. A couple of weeks ago, and then due to this problem, also Boeing engineers try to investigate, and almost some people say by chance discovered an helium leakage in the tanks, and so they just try to overcome this leakage by fixing it, but for what we know, this leakage was not fixed correctly, or there is another leakage of the same nature but in a different spot. Today the launch was almost nominal. Now, yesterday the launch was almost nominal. The overall costing phase from the launch pad to the International Space Station should last something like 25 hours, where the two people on board will finally dock to the International Space Station. And this docking phase is another constraint to the launch. Indeed, should the launch was scrapped again, one of the problem was that the docking window on the International Space Station was coming close, because the docking port designated to this capsule had to be used for different docking spacecraft in the next days. So basically there was no more room for the Starliner capsule to dock to the International Space Station. So luckily the launch happened yesterday, and it is going to dock in a few minutes basically, and we'll see how the rest of the mission will go, how the investigation from Boeing's engineer and NASA engineer will conclude, and how this leakage will affect the overall mission. We only know that the nominal duration of the mission is from the docking up to the end of the mission 7-10 days. So we'll just get back in a few days, maybe in a week, and we'll give you an update. And again, if you want to have a dedicated video about Boeing Starliner capsule, just let us know in the comment. We have some just a few images of what happened yesterday with a nominal launch from the ULA Atlas V rocket, and then the launch was basically nominal, and everything was as expected. We have no particular images, no particular re-entry phases, because this is Atlas V, so yeah. Now let's go on with the third topic of the news of today. But before going on, I would just like to give you a fast look on our website. I strongly invite you to visit SpaceInfo.club, where you can join completely for free our club, and you can access exclusive content for all the members. Again, who can join for free. We have some dedicated content. Here is just a fast overview of our partners, our collaboration. If you are a company or a space startup, contact us. We can just give you some consulting and also some advertising dedicated. We have dedicated services for you, but for the members club, who can just access all the content, articles, courses, and all the other things, and also particularly the magazine with dedicated and exclusive insights from space expert. As you can see, here are some of them, and I just invite you to visit www.spaceinfo.club and give a look to our website. Now back to the topic of today. The third topic is ESA EarthCARE, a mission which was launched the last week on May 29th, and the mission was launched again from Falcon 9 SpaceX rocket, and the launch again occurred in California, Vandenberg, the May 29th of 2024, and the EarthCARE is an acronym which means Earth, Cloud, Aerosol and Radiation Explorer, which is a mission from the European Space Agency, basically with the collaboration of the Japanese Space Agency. On board we have 4 instruments for Earth observation. We'll give a look in a minute. We have 21 square meters of solar panel to give enough power supply to all the instruments, and the satellite is flying almost at the altitude of the International Space Station. Indeed, we have 393 kilometers of altitude, so it is placed in low Earth orbit. And just to give a fast look to the mission, again, also in this case, let us know in the comment if you want deeper insights into the mission itself, so we'll give you a dedicated video. This is the separation again from ESA and I think yes, SpaceX images, the separation of the satellite. Now the satellite, as you may know, is in its commissioning phase, which is one of the typical phases of space missions. The very first is the preparation, the ground segment, the ground phase. Then we have the launch phase and early mission phases. The commissioning phase is not the operative one for every satellite. It is indeed a phase where people on the ground have to communicate with the spacecraft, set the instruments, calibrate the instruments, and make sure that everything is working nominally and as expected. Typically, this depending on the complexity of the satellite, where commercial satellites, so small CubeSat satellite can just take a few days or a few hours commissioning phases, but satellite like this maybe can take up to some months to conclude the commissioning phases, and then the nominal phase just starts, and the satellite can start to operate for what it was designed. Particularly, there are 4 instruments on board. They are dedicated to Earth observation, and among them we can find LiDAR instruments for cloud observation, and also radar instruments again for radar observation of the clouds. As we can see here, again, this is a rendering of the mission itself and the purpose of the mission. The clouds can be observed from space for sure, but the particular, let's say, a feature, a peculiarity of the mission is the observation of aerosols and the solutions, solid and liquid mixtures in Earth atmosphere, to understand also the nuclei center for cloud formation and study with a lot of data available, a lot of data generation to study the climate changes and the climate evolution, to better understand also the weather and cloud formation, how this causes cloud formation, how they interact between themselves. everything it will be done again with one single satellite and with 4 instruments on board. And just to give a fast look, we have an atmospheric LiDAR with the LiDAR standing for light detection and ranging, a cloud profiling radar, which, as said, was realized thanks to the collaboration with the Japan Exploration Agency, then a multispectral imager, which is the wider looking instrument on board, which gives a wider perspective to the whole instrumentation on board the satellite, which are basically most of them are dedicated to have a vertical look on the ground. This multispectral imager gives a wider look to give a context on the overall observation, and then a broadband radiometer to measure the radiation emission from the planet. Indeed, as you may know, most of the heat comes from radiation from space, particularly from the sun. But with thanks to this instrument, so the broadband radiometer, you can also measure the radiation coming from space, but also the radiation coming from the ground of Earth. Indeed, you can just calculate the difference between the radiation. You can compare the data when radiation comes from, let's say, naked ground without the coverage of the clouds, or the radiation coming from the top of the clouds. You can compare the data and see how much different there is in the heat generation with clouds or without clouds, and also some mixture in atmosphere, again as aerosols or something like that. Now come to the last topic of the day, and yes, that's China. We cannot lose a week or an update without talking about China. And because China says that its lunar probe has successfully taken off from the far side of the moon to begin its journey back to Earth, carrying the first samples ever collected from the region. Indeed, state media says that collecting module of Chang'e 6 craft lifted off about at 7:38 on Tuesday, which are 23:38 GMT Monday, and begin the journey back towards Earth. The mission landed successfully a few days ago on the far side of the moon, and it is the very first time that one human unmanned mission from Earth lands on this part of our natural satellite. As we can see from these images from CCTV, it is the very first time that a rover lands on this side of the moon. China has been the very first country to achieve this mission. And again, as said, some samples were taken off from the ground and now are going to be set back to Earth. And space officials have had to use the satellite to direct and maintain communication with the Chang'e spacecraft. Indeed, as said, it is the far side of the moon. As you may know, the rotation of this natural satellite, in combination with the rotation of our planet, and also its rotation around Earth, it is impossible to have a direct view, a direct observation on a particular side of the moon. It is why it is called the far side. So there is no direct communication. We have to use satellites orbiting the moon, and that's what it was done by the mission. And we'll see how the samples will get back on Earth. We'll see which kind of information will be able to be accessed from this side of the world, what China will say. But again, there is no much concrete news under this point of view. Everything we know is that the mission is said to be successful. We can just believe this because China demonstrated to start to acquire some know-how. Before saying goodbye, I just invite you to give a look to our video where we interviewed Benjamin Ogden, who is professor of strategic space studies in the Army War College in the USA, and we talked about this topic, particularly about China, how they are acquiring a strong know-how in space missions. It was a very interesting interview. I strongly invite you to give a look, because for today that was all, folks. Thanks for listening up to this point. Let me know what you think. Let me know what's the next topic you'd like to say. Thank you for listening. Thank you for looking at the video on YouTube. Please subscribe and share this page with your friends. Thanks and goodbye.
This is the SpaceInfo Club.